Well, thank you guys all for joining us for our fourth session of our Women on the Rise series. We really appreciate everyone coming in today. We have just an amazing lineup of speakers for you, so we're super excited. I'm going to go through and just kind of introduce them all, but just for the people who maybe are new for this week, my name's Kayla. I work with the Small Business Development Center. I'm a business advisor with them. And then we also have Lorraine Heinz, who's on the call, and she is our regional director for the Small Business Development Center. So what we do is we help you with all different resources for your business. I always like to say we help you from your idea stage all the way up to selling your business and everywhere in between. So a little bit of what we do. Our services are free, and we really just are in it to help you guys see your dreams through. So just going to introduce our speakers today. We have Jody Alexander, and she owns Live Better, Feel Better, and she does pulse electric magnetic fields and infinity cells, which is stem cell treatments. So that is super cool. I'm excited to hear from her. We also have Sara Moyer, who owns Project Lunch. She's going to talk to you about her, how she's got going, and how she kind of juggles kids as well. And then we have Sara Hollenbeck with High Five Meats and Annika with Charter Beef. These two women are hysterical. They're so fun to be around. And one of the cool things about them, on top of them owning their meat companies, they also helped found Yellowstone Valley Food Hub. So super cool. We're excited to hear from all of you. And we're going to throw it over to Karen, and Karen's just going to kind of jump us all in. We're always happy to partner with Karen. She does such a great job, and she owns her own team building company called Canvas Creek. And so Karen, off to you.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Kayla. You guys, I am so excited to talk to you about this today. I have been coaching individuals and teams for probably over 30 years, and it took me a little while to figure out that that's what I was supposed to do with my life. But I tried a series of things, learned a lot of things, and eventually realized that I kept saying, what's next, what's next, what's next? And my what's next now is always helping you guys to have bigger, better businesses and bigger, better lives. So I wrote a book a couple years ago thinking, well, this will make people leave me alone. I'll just hand them the book. What's next? I won't have to talk to them a lot. And instead, what's next has become a thing. So I get to help a lot of people from stages and places like this. So I'm super excited to be here talking to you. And part of what's next is always having to figure out how you are going to run your business with your life and how you are going to stay sane doing that. I see some heads shaking already. It is crazy, isn't it? And so I'm going to ask you in chat, how many of you ever have said in the middle of the day or the end of the day, I'm freaking out of here, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm quitting? If you've ever said that, go over and chat and say yes, so that we know that anybody else has felt like that. Surely somebody has, Sara, every day, right? Yes, yep. You guys feel like this, right? And then the next day you're like, oh, I can't wait to go to work, right? Because we love our projects, right? Yes. Oh my gosh, look at your smile. That is what it's like every day. I can't believe that I'm doing this, and why am I not doing this? So as we get ready to talk about today, I want to just have you know that what you are doing for yourselves and your family and the world is so very, very important. Every single day, somebody is looking for someone to take care of them, somebody to feed them, somebody to inspire them by having success on their own. And so on the days when it feels really hard, I want to tell you that it is always too soon to quit. And there will be a day where you might have to quit. You might have to say, yep, this is not the thing anymore. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. But that is not, it's not going to happen very often. So when you feel like that, when you think, oh, it's over, today is the day, I want you to always take 2 weeks to make the decision. 2 weeks can make a huge difference in the world. So on the days when you're just fed up, just take a breath, take 2 weeks, and then think about it again. And sometimes it will be time to quit and do the next thing, or add on kitchens and freezers and the things that you guys have happening in your business. But mostly it's time to just talk to other women and figure out how they do it. And so that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to start by telling you one of my favorite stories. I was working with a coaching client many years ago in Alaska. It was February, like it is now, and Alaska in February is cold. It was 20 below zero for a high that day, and this woman's husband had left the peanut butter out, and the dog got the peanut butter. Yep, you all are smiling because you know where this is going, right? So she gets a call from him in the middle of the day, and the call was the dog has now had diarrhea all over the house, which was recently carpeted. And she said, well, go ahead and take care of that, and I'll see you at 5. And she messaged him and said, this was pager days, so it is kind of an old story. But she said, hey, get the kids. And he said, I can't do that today. I've got too much going on. And she's like, okay, I'll go get the kids. So she comes home with the kids, and she notices that every door and every window of the house is open. It's like, oh my gosh, he cleaned and he wants it to smell fresh, right? So they go piling into the house, and he was standing at the stove with a parka on, cooking one little can of tomato soup. And she looked around, and he had put one paper towel over every pile in the house. Your faces are great. That's why this is such a good story. And she said, what were you thinking? She might have used some other words in there, but she said, what were you thinking? And he said, well, you told me to take care of it, and so I just took care of it until you got home to clean it up. Right? And she said, that is not what I meant. You are going to go ahead and clean this up. I don't care how you do it. Call somebody, clean it up, whatever you're doing, and you call me when it's done. And so she grabbed the kids, went to a restaurant for dinner, made a hotel reservation. The kids played in the pool. She had a great night, and she went home 2 days later after the carpets were dried. So the reason I love that story is it's so real. We all have moments when those things happen in our lives. And when we talked about what went wrong, where was the breakdown, it was that she said, just go ahead and take care of that. And he did take care of it. He put a paper towel over it. She didn't say, get that cleaned up. Spouses quite often need very direct solutions to the problem that you're offering them. So if you're leaving in the evening to do a direct sales class, you need to say, when I get home, I want the dishes done, I want the kids in bed, and I want everything in the living room picked up. And spouses will do that. You just have to be absolutely clear. Now, I have been training my husband for 40 years now, and God bless him. On Saturday, I came in with all of the vegetables from the grocery store, and the fridge was it was ready for a wiping out. And then he was in the kitchen. I said, hey, would you mind wiping off the shelves in the fridge? 40 years of training people. And he wiped off the shelves where he could see it, like right up to the edge of the jars and right up to the, just what he could see. And I thought about launching, but instead I thought, I'll just take care of this, and we'll sit down and talk about what the expectations were and be very, very clear. So I want to give you hope that after 40 years, you are still going to have to be very, very clear about what you want and what you need. I don't know if there really is hope in that, but let's pretend that there is. They want to help us. It is not that they don't love us. It is not that they don't believe in our projects and our businesses. This is especially true of families. I've had a lot of conversations online lately with people who don't feel loved because they're not getting the support they want for their business. And that is not it. When you don't feel like you're getting support, it's not that they don't love you. It's generally that they're scared. They're scared that they'll lose you. They're scared that their lifestyle is going to change. They are scared that they don't know how to support you. So we'll talk about that a little bit later in this, how you deal with that if you have somebody who's scared and not supportive. But before we do that, I want you to start hearing from these really cool people, what they're doing in their businesses and what they're doing in their lives to maintain a little bit of balance. So we're going to start this morning with Sara Moyer. You're going to tell us your whole story. Tell us maybe just a little bit of it, Sara. Tell us what you've got going. And you guys, the practice, if this is your first time on a Women on the Rise call, the practice is go into chat and ask a question if you have one, so we can respond to it there. So Sara, what are you doing?
Hi, so I am Sara, and I have Project Lunch, and so I started this 3 years ago with an idea initially that I was going to deliver coffee, And as I started going, I realized that's not where I needed to go. And I, as a child, always made salads for my family and was very passionate about it. So much so that when I created a salad, it was a work of art and it needed to be cut like a pizza, not tossed. So my salads are still very beautiful works of art. And my employee, Emily, over here believes in that as well. So we create beautiful salads and wraps for our customers. And I also believe in doing things reusable. So I use reusable stainless steel containers with a real napkin and a fork. And I write a lunch note on every salad. So I am currently at work doing that, creating while I'm talking to you.
Sara, can you show us the inside of that salad? Because they are so beautiful. Would you mind showing us one?
Yes. This one.
Oh my gosh.
Is called The Good One. And I have a new employee, Anna Page, which is very exciting. She works for the Gazette. She named it The Good One. Like, this is the good child. She said, you know, everybody has that special child that no one else knows is a special. They don't know that they're the special. But everybody's kind of jealous of that special child. She's like, this is that one that no one tells you you're the special one, but you're the special one. That's the salad. So it's called The Good One. And this is grilled chicken, sliced nectarines, Tillamook's black pepper, white cheddar, smoked cheddar, walnuts, spinach, basil from Yellowstone Farms, and the dressing is from Spiked Olive, and it is a pomegranate balsamic vinegar with garlic olive oil. I'm looking at Emily like, make sure I'm on track with what I'm saying. And it is so good. So I guess what's important for me is why I do what I do and why I believe in the way I produce things and make things. So very early into what I was doing, I was connected with a local wonderful group, and they're on here. So Yellowstone Valley Food Hub. In their infancy, I was also in my infancy. And so I connected with local growers and producers. My father-in-law is a farmer, and I believe in knowing where your food comes from and ethical business leadership. And so I do source whatever I can when available from local providers like Swanky Roots, Yellowstone Valley Food Hub, Zach Earl Farms, Spiked Olive, anybody I can get locally who's making things, not just selling, is who I try to get things from. And so as I've grown this, I'm going to read this comment really quick. My husband calls it Dick Jane Reader. He's actually very good at detailing the steps of tasks at extra time. Oh, this is awesome, right? So thank you, dear, but you don't need to Dick Jane Reader me, LOL. But there's really value in it. That's so awesome. Yes. So I've created, just to go back to what I do. So my business is 3 years in. We are growing and expanding. And the best thing I did was to hire help. So I started this business with an infant. He came everywhere with me. He still kind of is everywhere with me. I just dropped him off at preschool. And it's been really rewarding, but it's difficult. It's not easy. And so managing that and managing your time and your expectations of what you can get done is huge. So year 1 and 2 of this business, I had a kitchen in my basement. And I was up until all hours of the night prepping for the next day, and then getting up before my children and yelling at them to get ready while I made coffee for my customers. Which is one of the reasons why I'm not doing coffee, is that it was like, this is not fitting into my life and the way I need to be living. And I needed to give something up. And I think there's value in assessing that. I'm listening, not reading, Glennon Doyle's most recent book, Untamed. And if you haven't read or listened to it, you should. But she talks about the knowing. And the cool thing about what I've done in my business is I've really honored that knowing, that voice that gives you guidance and tells you the path you need to be pursuing, right or wrong, committing to it and going full force. And so just a little bit about what we've done in the last year is when COVID impacted our business, as it did everyone's, we do a lot of catering, and that's where we make our money. We have price points for individual salads, but then our catering price is a little higher. Like, that's how we get into our catering events, is when people order our individual salads. So it really broke my model. It wasn't going to work. And so through that knowing, that voice came to me on that Sunday night when Governor Block shut down schools. And it just said that people need to eat. And so we pivoted and we decided to do kids' lunches. So from March until August, we were able to activate volunteers and get donations and utilize grants and loans to serve 21,842 sack lunches directly to kids in their homes. And from that has spawned Project Love Billings, which is now Eat, Share, Give. And through all of this and following that voice that guided me and told me, do this, has come Eat, Share, Give, which will be a nonprofit pay what you can restaurant in the Commons building. And my business will also be able to move into that space and operate in tandem with our passion work. So going back, I guess, to what we're here for is that balance of work, life, children, spouse. And I will say I'm extremely fortunate that my husband is a wonderful listener and completely supportive of everything I do. And so he is very big into like, what do you need? Because I've had times where I'm crying. I'm like, I can't do it all. I can't do the laundry, the dishes, clean the house, run the business. I can't do it all. Meanwhile, he was getting his master's and working full-time in Lame Deer as a nurse. And so we both couldn't do it all. And so we just found a way to live kind of in the current mess of our lives. And my little guy who used to come to work with me every day is now in preschool, which is a fantastic thing because he's no longer insisting on mandolining carrots. Yeah, which he does with special gloves, not for customer consumption, but for ourselves. So no worries.
Sara, I love that you admitted that you're living in the mess right now.
Yeah.
I mean, right, there are times, you guys, where we just have to give up the idea of perfectionism and the idea that we can do it all and say, I can't do it all. And so I'm not going to do it all.
Yeah.
And right. And it's kind of weird to do that, especially, you know, if you're binging on Netflix and their houses are always perfect and everything they're is done. That's not what life is like. And so when you're finally nice to yourself and you just say, this is what it's going to be right now, it feels so much better. The other thing, Sara, that you maybe want to launch into is just a reminder, it's in the workbook, but just a reminder to have business hours. And it's helping you so very much, Sara, to move into a space so that it's easier to have business hours. But especially if you're working from home, you have to know when you won't work. And I recently adjusted my business hours, and it's silly, but all of a sudden my business hours have an hour in the morning where I have breakfast and play cards with my husband because he loves it so much. And that little hour has just made so much difference in our lives. So business hours change, but knowing when you won't work is probably the most important thing that you can do. And Sara, thank you for everything you've done for our community. So incredible, so incredible. I just love watching it happen. The next person that I'm going to have you listen to is Jody Alexander. Jody, tell us about your business and tell us about your story. How did you get where you are? How's it going?
Sara, I loved your story because it rings true to a lot of things that we go through here too. I used to be a stay-at-home mom for years. I homeschooled my kids up until junior high. And during that time, I coached volleyball for 20 plus years. And I just decided I wanted to take charge of my success and my failures. So I started my own business from the ground up. Thank goodness I have my husband who's a pharmacist, and he believed in me and had faith in what I was proposing because it was quite financially big. I started Live Better, Feel Better after selling our house. And yes, we sold our house because the bank wouldn't loan us enough money for what I needed. And I didn't want to have a huge, I didn't want to have a huge debt. So we used a lot of the cash from our sale of our home. And the bank also didn't really know what we were proposing because nobody really knows what PEMF is or pulse electromagnetic field. And so the technology was very new, but I jumped in with both feet like I do everything else. Whether I get rid of something or I add something, I let it go or I add it, and I'm super excited to do it. Let me tell you a little bit about the two main things that we do at Live Better, Feel Better is the PEMF machines, and it's called Infinity Cells. I used to have the neuroregenerative therapy, which is a more, it's a manual therapy, but I got rid of that, or I'm getting rid of that, because the two aspects of the business that help people the most are the infinity cells and the PEMF. Infinity cells are stem cells that come from umbilical cord donated by a healthy mother and a healthy baby. They are very ethical because they don't harm the baby or the mom after the donation. And umbilical cells are, they create a beating heart in 4 weeks, and they build, as you guys know that are pregnant, are building your baby, the perfect baby, in 9 months. That's what stem cells do. So consider the complexity of a newborn baby. Stem cell therapy is a process of harnessing that creative power to activate our bodies and internal repair system. The regeneration process is encoded into our DNA, and the cells know how to multiply, rebuild, and repair. So all we really have to do in our business at Live Better, Feel Better is to administer those in the office, because power that is created, or because the power that created our bodies is also the power that regenerates it as well. PEMF, you guys probably don't know a lot about the PEMF either. It's a machine that allows magnetic field to come up through the bed or a chair, and it pushes out inflammation to allow oxygen and nutrients into the cells. So we're made up of billions of cells, and if they're toxic, then we start having issues with everything. So we start having diabetes, heart attacks, depression, all of that, which we all get a little depressed because we're worn out, you know. PEMF is just a non-invasive way of staying proactive versus reactive with our health. My boys now, as you saw earlier, are in high school, so they're a little bit more independent, which is nice. But being a business owner, wife, mother has been extremely interesting, because I used to do everything. It was literally my job. So I never asked my husband to cook. I never even thought to ask my husband to clean, because it was my job. So I think of starting this business is kind of like a clown juggling, and sometimes it's smooth and everything goes well, and other times the balls are out of control and bouncing all over the place. It was really rocky at the beginning when I started, because I was trying to do it all myself, and the problem is I wasn't asking for help. But as soon as I asked for help, the same thing that happened with Karen with cleaning the refrigerator, I mean, they do it the way they think they should do it. And us, it's like, it's never good enough. That's how I am. And that's probably my perfectionism. That's my type A personality. Later, my husband and I started to communicate more on not just what to get done with the house, but more importantly, who was going to do it. Because he'll say, we need to go get groceries. And I'll be like, well, I'm working 9 to 6. So I won't get home till 8 o'clock if I go get groceries. And he goes, oh, no, I was going to go get groceries. I'm like, well, don't say we need to get groceries. Say you're going to get groceries. But I do believe that I'm a very honest person, and I don't have rose-colored glasses on when I talk with people. I believe that we need to be honest with other people that we're speaking with, like you guys, and tell each other the truth. I think of it, Karen, I think that I mentioned this to you a long time ago when you were in. It's called, like, I think of the Facebook marriage. People can be having a horrible time, and their husbands or their wives are awful to them, but on Facebook, everybody is just super happy, and they're having their time of their lives. Nobody shares the negatives. Nobody shares, I had a fight with my husband because he didn't clean the refrigerator the right way. I'm not a Facebook person like that. If you ask me a question, I will be extremely, extremely honest with you. I truly want to see and help other people succeed, not only by encouraging them, but also telling them all my failures so they can succeed faster. I still have days where I'm juggling life, and it isn't smooth. I had one last week. I was talking to Karen, and I'm like, man, the devil's really working on me. I had a horrible week last week, and it just seemed like nothing was going right. I wasn't communicating right with my husband. He wasn't understanding. My kids were driving me crazy. And then I get to the office and I want to pour candy into a big bowl, and candy goes everywhere. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my life is just in a freaking mess. I was a mess. And so that was the day that Karen came in, and I must have looked horrific because my face must have I show everything on my face. It's not going to be easy. It'll be easy to figure out if I'm having a good day or a bad day, I'm sure. And Karen just goes, how are you doing? And I'm like, I was about ready to cry. And I just go, the devil is working on me. And I said, it's just a day where the devil's working on me. And I'm like, all right, before I started tearing up, I'm like, all right, let's just let you relax and I'll let you read your book. And I got out of there pretty fast. But so I still have days where I'm juggling life and kids, and I don't do things all the right way. And I'm living in a mess most of the time because I don't have time to tell my kids to pick up and make sure they do it all at the same time. I think the big thing is that if we can give ourselves grace, and the other thing, I think that if we can take care of ourselves, even when it doesn't seem like we have a lot of time to do that. But that's the reason why I started that business, is because I want people to be able to take time to put their phone aside, to not watch TV, to read, or to just lay there, meditate, to pray, to sleep. Some people just go in and sleep. So, that's why I started the business. I want to help people, and I want to help people from the inside out. So you guys, all of you guys can come see me. We can talk business. I'll tell you my failures. I'll tell you my fall on my face. I'll tell you all the successes. And plus we can pulse out the toxins, and we can talk about stem cells. Thank you so much for having me. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I love hearing your guys' stories.
Oh my gosh, Jody, thank you for telling us that. The first thing that you said that I want to launch on just a little bit is ask for help. And that is so hard, especially if you're a type A personality and you're really driven, and it is easier to just do it yourself than to have somebody else help you. It's just, you're like, I can do it faster and better. But asking for help is really, really important. Humbling ourselves enough to say, I need help. Also, thinking that when I ask for help, somebody else gets to help. And that is such a gift to other people. There is probably nobody on this call, Jody, who would understand PEMF and be able to do what you're doing. But there is somebody out there with a business who wants to clean toilets, or who wants to pour candy in bowls. It's so funny how that's the thing that pushes you over the edge, right? There's always one thing like, I can't take it. So when you ask for help, you get to relax a little bit. You also get to let other people do what they are very best at. And when you think about that as a gift that you're giving to them, it feels much easier to do that.
Yeah.
Now, Jody must have liked that, right?
Yeah,
it's whenever you say help, they get to help, and it makes them feel good. So when you're asking for help, I do want to give you one caution. Many of you have figured this out, but if you are speaking to your spouse and you're crying and it's all bad and the world is awful, it is his job to ride in on the white stallion and say, quit. That's what they do. We can quit. You should quit. You should find something else to do, because they don't know what else to do with that. So when you're asking for help, be sure that you know what you want, and that you tell them, I don't need you to be on the white stallion right now. I just need you to listen, and maybe give me some advice, but be very clear about what you want. Okay, Sara, we want to hear about what's going on with your world and High Five, and tell us what you think about all this. And you're off.
Yeah, so I'm fortunate. Yeah, and I have a slight delay, so sorry if I don't answer something right away, or if I'm slightly behind my lips of talking. I'm here, I promise. Our internet's not the greatest. Originally I'm from California. I've always worked in the agriculture industry, and I always hated working for someone else. Just like burned my insides every day going to work for someone else 40 plus hours a week. Like I hated it. So when I met my husband and I moved out to Montana and he ranched, I was like, this is awesome. But at the same time, I still needed to work in town to have a supplemental income. So I was still driving to Billings every day and hating it. And every day I just kept thinking, like, what can I do that's involved with our family ranch that I can be my own boss? It was just, I had to do it. There was something out there. I could not continue to work for someone else for the rest of my life. And I remembered a business in California of a farmer who was selling their ranch meat direct to consumer. And I thought, gosh, there has to be a way for us to do that. People ask us all the time, like, how can we purchase your lamb? How can we purchase your beef? And we weren't doing it. So I specifically remember laying in bed next to my husband and thinking, or telling him, I think I should start selling our ranch meat in the Billings market. And he immediately was like, sounds like a great idea. And I was like, okay, crap, I got to do this then. So I didn't quit my job right away. I started the business while also still working full time in Billings, which, you know, we all just keep thinking we can do it all. So I was still working full time and also running my meat business as well, which was a hassle to do it all. And then, oh yeah, let's start a family. And my husband and I were very honest with each other from the beginning that we wanted to have our children stay at home with us and not do the daycare route. Nothing against daycare, it was just something we didn't want to do. We wanted to keep them at home with us. So here I am working part-time in town. I did go down to part-time on my other job, still doing full-time with the meat job and having babies. We did have some infertility issues starting out too, which was very heavy on me mentally. It was just a taxing situation to be at doctor's appointments all the time. Oh, also delivering meat in between, you know, appointments with the wand and still going to my part-time job. So finally it got to the point where I was able to quit my part-time job. I started High Five Meats in 2015, and I wanted to quit. Every year I'd talk to my husband and I'd be like, you know what, it's just not working. It's too much time. The market isn't there. No one wants to buy local. I'm too expensive. This isn't working. And he just would say, you know, I support whatever you want to do, but I think you just got to keep working harder at it. So I was like, okay, fine. So I changed directions. I changed marketing. And along the lines, I met Annika, who's also on this call, and started going to some local food meetings and really decided there has to be a better way for us local producers to sell our products together and not individually. And so Annika and I helped co-found the Yellowstone Valley Food Hub, which is really a co-op of local producers to sell our products, whether it be vegetables, bread, milk, meat, to the local community in a way that we're able to do it on a larger scale and not just alone. And that was a huge undertaking. It was another full-time job within itself to get that up and running, but it's been a huge payoff and worth all of the blood, sweat, and tears that went into that. I'm finally at a point where I am, you know, I'm a sole entrepreneur of what I'm doing now, and I've never been happier, even though now I have 2 children. I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old and a husband and multiple businesses. And then, oh yeah, let's go buy a processing plant in Forsyth and continue to expand on our business and our ranch and all of the businesses that we have. We just every year keep taking on more, but for some reason we just keep, like Sara said, managing expectations of what you can get done. And that really hits true to me because I'm constantly complaining. I am complaining a lot to Annika of like, oh my God, Annika, why do we think we can do all these things? Like, my kids are driving me crazy today. I just want to work on what I need to get done, but I need to be a mom, and oh yeah, dinner needs to get made. And it's a constant battle of time management and staying sane. So I just wrote down a couple tips of what I try and do to stay sane and keep my sanity. One of which, I have 2 toddlers, so their level of being able to entertain themselves is not there yet. I am their constant entertainment, which can drive me crazy sometimes when I need to take a phone call or respond to an email. So one thing that's really helped me was I sleep trained both of them. And I know that can be a controversial topic for some mothers, but for me, that was sleep training is my schedule to get work done. I know when they're asleep, I can get things done. So for me, it's been my sanity knowing they're asleep from 7:30 p.m. to 7 a.m. and they take a 2-hour nap, so I can schedule phone calls or meetings or whatever I need to get done in the hours that they are asleep. And that is what has helped me get things done, is knowing that they're asleep. I can do things without screaming children in the background. Another thing I always try and do is have a full fridge of food. And I know this sounds kind of weird, but if anything comes up, whether my husband has to feed them or we have 10 minutes to make dinner, if I know I've got food in the fridge, I can get it done. And that's been something that's taken a lot of stress away, is if I know I have a full fridge of food. I utilize, well, the food hub for one, to buy a lot of groceries, but also like the food pickup options where you just pull into a parking spot and they put it in your car. Like, there's nothing better for a mother with 2 toddlers that you don't want to get out of the car or take into a store because of the pandemic. That has helped tremendously. I always prep my kids' lives the night before. As soon as they go to bed, I clean out their backpacks. I make them lunch, whether we're going to be home or not. Living on the ranch, we never know where we're going to be. I don't know if I've got multiple deliveries to do. I don't know how long my deliveries might take me. So as long as I have my kids' lunches packed and or snacks, I know that I can not worry about that part of my day the next day. I always have a notebook and a pen with me at all times. My memory is not what it used to be at all, especially since having children. And I have to write everything down or else I will completely forget. I'm constantly making lists of what I need to get done, or notes. Like when I'm driving, that's when my brain is going. And I try and zone my kids out sometimes if they're just, you know, singing or crying or whatever. But that's when I'm thinking of like new marketing ideas or new things that I think would work well for the business. And I'll either make a note in my phone or I'll write it down in my notebook, because 2 hours later, I'll be like, what was that great idea I had 2 hours ago? And it's gone. So if I don't write it down, I just have to write it down. And I'm always making lists. So those are just some of my quick tips that I try and utilize that work for me. Not to say that they would work for everyone, but that's how I try and stay sane. The other one too is my kids take a 2-hour nap every day, and I give myself like 45 minutes to do whatever I want of that nap. I can take a power nap. I can clean up the house if that's what's going to make me feel better. I can get the laundry done if I need to do that. I do whatever I need or want to do that will keep me sane for the rest of the day. And then the last hour of their nap, I will work on something business related. And then for me to feel productive, that's what keeps me going.
Oh my gosh, Sara, you are a Wonder Woman. All of you are, but Sara, wow, wow, wow. Everything that you're doing with little kids, it is work. You know, they're still at the age where you have to zip their coats and put their mittens on, and it's a lot of work. So thank you for helping to feed us while raising these children. That's amazing that you're doing for us. Wow. There are a number of things that I want to launch on from there, and I'm going to try to narrow it down to a couple. But the first one, you guys, is to collaborate. I think that's one of the really beautiful stories that we're hearing this morning, is that when you reach out to other women, they have tips on how they're getting it done. They may be able to help you grow your business because you can grow it together, make co-ops and that type of thing. Women are so much better about collaborating instead of competing. Even businesses that look like they're similar and we might be, you know, trying to pull from the same market base, it is okay. If you operate your business with the theory of abundance, you are always, always, always going to find more customers, and you're going to find more sanity for yourself. Sara, when you were talking about the phone calls, you know, have a couple hours a day where you do those phone calls, I was thinking about one of the women that was a mentor for me, and she was running a multi-million-dollar, fast-growing national company, and her phone was ringing all of the time, and she taught her children, it wasn't good, it wasn't as nice as sleep training, you guys, but whenever the phone would ring, she would grab from a bowl of M&Ms, she'd grab a handful of M&Ms and toss them down the hallway, and then she'd go hide in the closet so she could take the phone call. Sometimes you
That's awesome.
Isn't that great? It totally worked. And so the kids loved it when the phone rang, and she would give them more M&Ms after the call. So later they had to deal with all the sugar. But you know, when they're little, you just got to do what you got to do. So I want you to know that.
It's honestly, you got to do what you got to do.
You do every day. And they are going to remember the M&Ms being thrown down the hallway. They're not going to remember you throwing them down the hallway because we're frustrated, right? They'll be like, my mom was so cool. Also, power napping. Sarah, I'm glad you're a power napper. I learned when my daughter was a toddler that she was a napper, but if I needed 20 minutes, she could entertain herself for 20 minutes sitting on the bed. So I still take 20-minute naps, not 19 minutes, not 21, 20-minute naps. Power napping is the best thing you can ever learn. Okay, I have more. I'll launch into it later though, but Sarah, thank you for telling us all about that. Annika, it is your turn. Tell us your story. Tell us what's going on and give us the tips that you have for being a female entrepreneur.
My family ranches north of Billings, and we've just been, me and Sarah's, at least kind of the local food is very similar. My mom was really into local food, so that was kind of our background for our ranch. There'd already been some infrastructure for that set up, and growing up, I thought she was crazy. And she was also a huge influence of, and I think that's one thing for moms to remember is your kids are always watching. And yes, it can be a little nerve-wracking of what they're seeing, but I think it just innately instilled in me watching my mom run all these businesses and work with all these people, and really just be a pillar of the community that like, there's no other way. That's what you do when you care about things in your life. You just go after them. And so she really set the foundation for this local beef and local food. And I kind of took that over when she passed away. And like Sara said, we kind of founded the Yellowstone Valley Food Hub in tangentium with other producers, and we've seen huge growth and huge benefits. But I think as a woman and as a mother, one of the benefits I saw out of that is a friendship with a like-minded person like Sara. I do think women entrepreneurs are a special breed, and when you find someone you can kind of connect with and talk with and live life with, especially as being a mother and a wife, it makes a huge difference. And even just being on a call like this, it inspires you when you're around other women who are really going after their dreams, but realize they want a family and they have a husband that they love and care about as well. And so things kind of just really took off with the Yellowstone Valley Food Hub and Charter Beef, honestly, in this last year. And in addition to that, I helped my dad run our family ranch. And then my husband also has a business called 87 Rentals, where he buys and sells used equipment. And we are doing all of that all at the same time. And I really related to Jody talking about, so both me and my husband are fairly young. We have young kids. We have a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a baby on the way. And I think one thing you forget is you're growing. You as a person are growing, your husband's growing, your kids are growing, and you're trying to, and then you have all these businesses that you're involved with, and you're still figuring it all out. And so I really related to Jody when she was talking about knowing yourself better so that you can ask help from your husband. And that's the same thing in your husband, knowing himself and learning more about you and your marriage as you go on, of how you build a relationship and how you make things work with all these different businesses. And I think me and my husband are right in the midst of that with 2 young children and 1 on the way. But recognizing that makes it a little bit easier to understand where each of us are coming from. So yeah, we're in the mess as well, but having good support systems. We have all our families pretty close. Both Stevie is in 1st grade. She's my 6-year-old, and then Willie is in preschool. So I do have that time where they go off and I get to focus on all of the different businesses we have going on. Like Sara said, I'm a big list person, but also there's just times where, like, if I have to cross something off my list and move it to the next day, I do it. If dishes have to be left in the sink so I can go to bed, I just do it. It makes it survivable where you're not going to quit. So that's kind of, there wasn't a good timeline for all of that, but that's just kind of listening to everybody else talk is kind of what I've been grasping from all of this. And I think it's really good for women to get together like this and hear everybody's stories, because you think you're always alone in it, especially when you have young children and you're just with your husband. A lot of the times you feel like nobody else is going through these things, but the majority of women who do go after a career or are entrepreneurs, they're going through a lot of the same things.
Oh my gosh, Annika, you are so right. They are going through a lot of the same things. And you gave me several opportunities to launch there. I'm going to tell you guys a couple of things. And then I have somebody else who's going to talk. I'm really excited to tell you that. The first thing that I want you to remember is that once the kids are grown and once the business is stable, there is going to be a day where you look up and you're like, oh man, it is just me and this man living in this house. And you have to still like each other. And it is a gift to still like each other. And there are going to be days in between here and there where you're like, oh, what have I done? But there should be more days where you're like, look what I've done. I have nurtured this relationship. So I got this advice from a hockey coach in Alaska who was sharpening my husband and daughter's skates, and life was crazy. We were all running businesses and it was nuts. And I showed up at his house one day with skates, and I was mad that I had to do that errand. And he said, hey, I just want to remind you exactly what I said. Someday it's going to be you and him, and you have to like him. And that was the day where I made him more of a priority than I had been before, and scheduling time on the calendar to take care of the marriage. And so don't forget to do that, you guys. It is important. And we've been married 40 years now, and I still like him. Do not tell him that, but I still like him. So go for that, you guys. I am also going to tell you one other thing, and that is right now you are crazy busy and there's so much going on. There is going to be a time in your life, again, when the kids are gone and you have time to perfect your life a little bit more and perfect your business a little bit more. So Annika, when you said we're still growing and we're still learning, do that right now, you guys. Learn and grow, and someday you will have more time, I promise you. I was listening to a podcast with Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank one day, and she said, and my husband or my son called me at work, and I was so mad because my family knows better than to call me at work. I was like, oh, that's so shocking to me because I work at home so I can talk to my family. That's part of the deal. But we all get to develop the lifestyle we want. And I hope that your lifestyle, you know that it's crazy now, but it's gonna be fun later. Okay, so Katie Moyer is on the call, and she is right where so many of you are, and she's going to tell us her story just a little bit. So Katie, pop on, tell us who you are and what you're up to. And if you
Karen, yeah, thanks for asking me to speak too. I'm really just honored to be on this call with everyone. Everything that everyone said has resonated so much with me. I just been sitting here soaking it all in, shaking my head like, yes, exactly. I feel you there. I know exactly what you're talking about. So I'm really humbled that you've asked me to speak to. Just a little bit of background. My husband and I been married coming up on 8 years here. We have 2 young boys. My oldest is 5, my youngest is 3, 3.5. They're about 1.5 years apart. We just got it done quick. They're best friends, worst enemies. So it's really an adventure at our house. But I work full-time at my family's manufacturing business out in Laurel called Woods Power Grip. I'm the human resources manager out here. This is my Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, 7 to 4, whatever you want to call it, job. And then my husband is a family nurse practitioner, and we opened up a primary care clinic. It's called a direct primary care clinic in Billings here a couple of years ago. We're called Flex Family Health. That's his day job. That's his job. And I kind of help him behind the scenes with stuff after I'm done at this job, in between doing the mom, wife, all that kind of stuff. So we're busy, like all of you, to say the least, but it's all blessings. I usually tell people when they ask how things are going, I say, I don't have much to complain about, but just a little bit. So, but you know, like I said, same things that you guys have kind of talked about here, just trying to find the balance with it all. We are very fortunate in that my family lives close by here. And so we lean on them quite a bit for support. And we couldn't do what we do without having family around. So that's the biggest blessing that we could ask for, that any of us, I think, could ask for, is having that family, that non-judgmental, always available source to lean on. So, you know, you guys mentioned finding me time. That's been huge. That was one of my focuses over this last year. I joined the Peloton cult or community, whatever you want to call it, but it's been huge, and I can't say enough about just taking that 30 minutes every day, whether even if I have to get up at 4:45 in the morning to do it, just squeezing it in makes me a better person every day, a better mom every day. So whatever you can find in there, that time for yourself is huge. And then you guys mentioned the date nights thing. That's huge for us too. We like to go out. We're social people. We like to go out and support all of our local businesses, our local restaurants, breweries, big brewery people. And I can't say enough about getting just to spend that one-on-one quality time with your spouse, whether you are talking business or talking fun or a little bit of both. We just don't get that opportunity at home when the kids are going crazy and you're trying to cook dinner and clean the house, keep up with all that. So anyways, that's kind of our story in a nutshell. And like I say, Karen, I'm really, thanks for asking me to speak to. And thank you all for sharing all your nuggets of wisdom. It really is encouraging, helps you feel better about what you're doing, how your life's going, to knowing that there are others in the same boat. So thank you guys.
That is awesome. Katie, thanks for just jumping on there at this for the moment. And as everybody else has, Katie, you gave me something that I wanted to launch on there. You guys, we talk a lot about balance, and we said that was something we were going to talk about as we came into this call. And it's such a catchphrase. I'm trying to lead a balanced life, and everything is about balance. And I had to, you saw me escape from the screen. I had to go grab a book because I couldn't remember exactly what I said about it in my book. But in my book, I said this. I said, please, for the love of all that is right in the world, stop trying to lead a balanced life. Balance is for acrobats. It is hard to balance. And so what I think that you should do instead is to honor your life. And I'll just read you a brief paragraph here. But honoring your life means that you embrace the chaos, you savor the moment, you're present. You move forward always. Honoring your life means sleeping when you are tired, being sick when you are sick, dancing when you feel like dancing, holding tight your loved ones and letting them go when it's time. Honoring your life means taking time for what matters, but being kind to yourself when chaos reigns or duty calls. And I think as we talk through this morning, that's the message that I really want you to take away, that it is going to be chaotic and you are going to feel like you're not doing a good enough job, and you're going to have to sometimes scream at your husband. It's not babysitting, it's parenting. We're in this together. But just honor that and know who you are, and that who you are today might change a little bit tomorrow, but those base values that you have, your driver values, are always going to be there. So just take care of you. And as much as possible, lean into systems. I think it was, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Sara, and who mentioned that her fridge is always full. One of the things that I have always had in my life is a warehouse of food, and it kind of expanded crazily during COVID. But I have this little warehouse where I can go downstairs and get anything that we are going to want to eat. And that makes me feel comfortable that, first off, I know we have food. And second off, I don't have to be creative about what we're going to do. It's right there and it's ready. I also use Calendly to set up most of my appointments. And the reason for that is I don't have to go back and forth with people. What's good for you? What's good for you? I can just send them a Calendly link and tell them, or they can look at when I'm free and they can find something that works for them. The other thing about Calendly, Gina, I thought about you. You asked this question last week. How do you get people to pay for your time? Well, if it is somebody that I want to pay for my time and I'm not going to be donating that time to them, Calendly has a link right in it where they get to pay for that. So it's paid for right up front. And that really helps you guys. Anytime you can have a system that handles the hard conversations or just makes things move faster, lean into those systems. So that's one of my tips for today. I'm going to ask Lorene if she has anything she'd like to add here, because one of the things that she and her team are so good at doing is helping you to look at where you are in your business and where you could go and who can help you. So Lorene, what do you want to add right now? I think she's there. Lorene, are you there?
I am. Yes, and I resonated a lot with these young women. I was a young woman. I had a store for 16 years and I had young kids, and I think I put in the chat, I hired somebody to clean my house the first year once a week. And that helped me so much, because otherwise I'd come home and I'd be this angry person that jumped on her broom. And I didn't want to be that for my family. So yes, we can take a look at your financials, your past financials, and kind of look at your trends and see where you're going and help you move forward with that. We don't have all the answers. We just have tons of resources, and we're open to, like Kayla said, we work with businesses at every single stage, and our services are free, and we're here to help. We have a great team. There's Kayla. We have Kevin on our team also, but he can't be here because he's a man. And we can just help you the most that we can. So feel free to reach out to us at any time.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Lorene. We have just a couple moments left. Is there anybody who wants to add a tip or have a question, or any of you speakers? Let's start with you speakers. Is there anything you think, oh, I want to say?
I was just going to say, find someone that you can talk to that isn't judgmental about your life. And what I mean by that is, I have friends in my life that I cannot complain to about my husband, because then they judge my husband. So find yourself a friend that, even though you're complaining about your husband just because you need to get something off your chest, they don't judge your husband for what you're complaining about. I don't know if this makes any sense, but
Absolutely.
I can go to Annika and I can be like, oh my gosh, Henry couldn't watch the kids today, and I had a meeting and it was a disaster, and I just wish he didn't have to go work those cows because I needed him to watch these children. Where she's like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's totally, I'm sorry that happened, instead of being like, what a jerk, you know? So it just helps to have someone that understands and doesn't judge you for what you need to vent about. And that helps me tremendously.
Gosh, Sarah, thank you for pointing that out. And even though we picked on husbands a little bit during this, they want you to be successful, and they love you. I'll tell you that again. And they're trying to figure out how to do the very best thing. Sometimes they just do it wrong, but they're good people, right? Okay, Sarah, it looked like you had something to say. Other Sarah.
Yeah, no, I just, to back up what Lorene said, utilize Big Sky Economic Development. I've said this before, I'll say it again, but I would not still be here through COVID had it not been for all the great resources they've supplied. And they've helped me. I'm starting a second business that they've helped me with. I get great advice from them. I utilize all their free classes and resources and all of that, and do it, because it's such a great connection, and they can get you going in the right direction and help you along the way. So utilize them.
Thanks, Sarah.
Very good. Yes, they are amazing people. Every time I'm working with somebody who's a new entrepreneur or stuck in their business, I'm like, go see them, because you guys help a ton. And Rock 31, as that comes on and gets more and more powerful, that's going to be super exciting for entrepreneurs in town. All right, you guys, it is 10:30. I know you have things to do. I want to remind you that we appreciate that you spent time with us today, and also what you are doing for the world. So go out there and rise up and do amazing things, and be proud of you, because you are fabulous people. Have a great day, everybody.